Hi there, my name is Jason Caldwell. I am the lead developer for the s2Member plugin for WordPress. In this video, we're going to go over do a quick overview of s2Member's general options. You can access the general options panel by going here to the s2Member main menu and just clicking the general options link, and that'll bring up this page here with all of these subsections that you'll see. And these subsections are great because as developers, designers, it allows us to pack a lot of power into the plugin without making it confusing or intimidating. You can open one section at a time. Starting with this first section, the security encryption key, this is pretty simple. All you do here is just click the auto generate link. That'll pop in a randomly generated key, which is unique to your site. And this is important because you want to secure your installation of s2Member, make it unique from all of the other installations that exist around the world. You also want to probably make sure that you save this key in a text file somewhere on your computer as a backup. You won't want to change this. You only do this once and then you leave it like this. So let's collapse this now and move on down to the email configuration. This is just giving you some additional control over how emails that are sent specifically by the s2Member plugin are received by your customers. So here is the name that they are sent from, and this is the email address that they're sent from. These will be filled in by default for you already, but you can change these if you like to. For example, in your default WordPress settings, you may have, under the General tab, you may have an email address already configured, but a lot of times that is an administrative email address. So here, if a customer gets an email that is sent by a sign-up confirmation email, for example, that is sent by the s2Member plugin after they complete checkout, and then the customer replies back, you might want to have them reply back to a support address so that the support department can handle that customer service issue for you, as opposed to it being sent to the administrator. Okay, so moving on down to the login registration design. We touched on this in the introductory video a little bit. This WP login.php file, this is the default registration/login system that comes with WordPress. And with s2Member installed, s2Member makes it possible for you to customize and rebrand that login registration system to match the front end of your site. And let's take a quick look here. I'm going to open this up in a new tab. And we can see that by default, s2Member puts its logo up here, and it makes just all of this white to give it kind of a generic feel by default. This is also true for the registration panel, which is also part of this same system. You can see here just the default registration fields and the default white with the s2Member logo. So we want to customize this a little bit, and that's what this panel is for. Here you can change the background color, the background image, the color for the text on top of the background, shadows for the boxes. Here you can upload a new logo image to replace the s2Member logo, and whatever width the image that you upload is, you'll want to match that up here. So you'll want to upload your image and then change the width to match it, and also the height. And also, while we're on this topic of the width of your logo image, as you can see here on the registration form, it also dictates the width of these alerts like this and of this registration box itself. And this is also true for the login panel as well, and for the lost password panel. So all of these little boxes are designed to match the width of your logo. So if you wanted a wider form field, then you would just stretch the width of your logo out, or make it a larger logo. Or some people I've seen even installations where logo images were designed wider with just open space on each side that was transparent, just in order to stretch the form fields out wider if they prefer it that way. Okay, so let's close this page down now, and we can collapse this section. Move on down here to custom registration fields. Alright, custom registration fields allow you to request additional information from your customers that would be specifically geared to your site. So, for example, if your site needed to know what the customer's zip code was, you could I'll just copy this as an example and paste it in. Okay, so I paste in zip code, and now that registration form, let me open this back up again so we can see. Alright, the zip code field does not appear here because I haven't updated my options yet, but if I save my options with the zip code entered, then that would add a zip code field. It would just say zip code. Now by default, that zip code field would not be required. The customer could enter it or they could not enter it. S2Member would not require them to do so. If you want to make it a required field, then you just, as shown in the example here, you wrap it inside asterisks. So just like you see here, right there, you just wrap this in asterisks just like this, and that would make the field required. And so when it appears here, it would appear with an asterisk beside it. So it would say zip code with an asterisk indicating that it's a required field. And s2Member will validate that by forcing certain information to be entered. The allow custom passwords during registration. By default, s2Member, as does WordPress, it's designed on the registration form to say a password will be emailed to you. So the customer puts in their username and their email address along with their name, their first and last name, and then the password is generated automatically. Usually, as you've probably seen similar services to this, usually the password that you receive in an email is not easy to remember. However, it is unique, and the only way you can get it is if you provided an adequate email address. So some site owners prefer this because it's also a form of email validation or email confirmation, because there's no way they can log in unless they provided a valid email address. So it's just a matter of preference. You can change it here. If you set this to yes, then the customer will be, this message will go away, and instead there'll be a password box right underneath the username here where the customer can type in their own password at the time of registration. Okay, let's collapse this and move down here to the login welcome page. The login welcome page is the first page that a member will see. So if they register here, and then they click, they get their email, they get their password, and then they end up back on the login panel again. And they'll put in their username and password, and if that information is correct, they'll be automatically redirected to the login welcome page that you've configured here. And this can be any page in WordPress. We already created this page in the introductory video, and so it's already available here in my list. But this is the same list, this list of pages. If I was to go up here and click on pages, WordPress would show me a list of all the pages in my installation. And that's the same list that you would see here. So this is all the pages that you created in WordPress, and you just choose one. And the one that I created for this was login welcome page. So I'll select it and then collapse this menu. Move down to membership options page. And this page we also created in the introductory video. And so it's already in here as well, and I just choose it. Membership options page is where anyone in the general public who is not logged in, they're not a member, if they try to access an area of your site that you have protected with the s2Member plugin, then s2Member will automatically redirect that visitor to the membership options page where you as the site owner should have details about what membership to your site includes, how much it costs, and this is also where you'll put your PayPal subscription buttons, which are also provided to you by s2Member right here under PayPal buttons. So this is sort of a focal point to the s2Member plugin. This is where all non-members, people without access, are redirected should they attempt to access an area of your site, and this will serve as your sign-up page as well. So users will go to this page, and they will click a PayPal button. They will go to PayPal, complete checkout, and then ultimately end back up on the login form where they'll log in, and they'll gain access to their membership. So moving on down, we have open registration free subscribers. Now, by default, s2Member locks this down. So even though I can go to this page right now and click on register, the only reason that s2Member allows me to even pull up this registration form is because currently I'm logged in to the administration. So I'm logged in as an administrator. But because this setting is set to no, do not allow open registration, if I was not logged in, s2Member, this link wouldn't even be down here for registration. Like if I was on the login panel, the little link that says register would not even be there, would not even be available. And even if it was, if they clicked on it, it would not allow them to register. The only way, by default, the only way s2Member will allow a customer to register is if s2Member is capable of detecting that they have just come from PayPal and they have the encryption cookies that are set after that checkout process is completed. So that would be the only way that a customer could register on your site by default when open registration is not enabled. s2Member sets 3 different encryption cookies and allows the customer to register one time, either immediately after checkout, or if it takes them several days to come back, then that's fine as well. They also get an email with a special link that has an encryption code in it that grants them, one-time access to register for what they paid for and get in and log in and have access to whatever it is that you as a site owner are offering with your membership. Now, you can change that. In this drop-down, if you choose yes, and you want to allow open registration, then that means you're allowing free subscribers at level 0. So, to explain this further, if I was to go to the register form, and you as the site owner are allowing open registration, then I could then access, anybody in the public could come to this form and then register. s2Member, at the time of registration, will look at their registration. It will say, okay, is this a customer that has just come from PayPal, or they have been marked as a paid customer? In other words, does s2Member recognize a transaction account in their cookies that indicate they're a paid customer? If so, then s2Member will create the account at a paid membership level, and that would be either s2Member level 1, 2, 3, or 4. If they're not, if they're just a general public user, and they're just registering because you have made it freely open to anyone to register, then s2Member will create their account at the default level 0. That means that they would be created as a free subscriber. So they effectively are a member, only they don't have paid member access. They only have access to the login welcome page, or anything else that you've deemed available on your site at level 0, which we'll get into here in just a minute on how to configure the different levels. Okay, moving down to membership levels and labels. So as we were just discussing, level number 0 is for free subscribers, and it's reserved as indicated here. It's always for free subscribers. So when you open registration up, then you're allowing free subscribers in, and they will always go in at level 0. The only time a registration goes in at a paid level is if the customer has already completed a PayPal transaction. And in that case, they would go in as a member level 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on how you created your PayPal button. So when you go to create PayPal buttons, you'll create a PayPal button for access to a specific level. You can change these levels if you prefer. For example, let's say that you don't plan on offering paid access, and you plan on only using s2Member to allow people to sign up for free and just gain free membership access to your site. Well, or in another scenario, let's say that your site is selling membership access, but it's a rarity. 95% of your members are just free. Well, in that case, you might change this. You could just change this to member. So it's pretty flexible. You can change, whether it's the intended behavior of s2Member or not, you can change this label, and although everybody would go in as a free subscriber, you could just call them a member. And then you could grant level 0 access using some of these options down here, which we'll get into in just a moment. And then let's say that you're going to have an occasional paid member, and you would just sell this. You might call this premium membership. And let's just assume that those are the only 2 levels you'll use. And so what I'll do is I'll just dash these out so that it's easy for me to see visually that I'm only using 2 levels. And this is fine to do that. So I have 2 levels, and I'm using level 0 for just open registration, where anybody can get in without having to go through PayPal. They just use the free registration form here, they fill it out, and they go in as a level 0. When they get into their account, or if they want to click a PayPal button and join as a premium member, then they will go in, and then when they finally end up on this registration form, s2Member will put them into the system as an s2Member level 1. And so they would be a premium member. Okay, so let's move on down here to these next sections. And before I open up this post-access